Good evening, welcome to Horizons, and real welcome back to Ben Emlyn-Jones from Hospital Porters Against the New World Order with Real Zombies, the horror to come. So quite scary. Ben looks at zombies, the dead but not dead, and examines their popularity in entertainment, where a great deal of effort and money is used to portray these creatures as real. Do they know something we don't? Let's find out. Please welcome Ben Emlyn-Jones.
Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, stop the New World Order. Good. Are there any Hospital Porters here today? Have I come to the right meeting? I'm at that New Horizons. Never mind, I hope you'll let me stay. Yeah, I'm glad, thanks all of you for coming. This is really going to be a great show. When I'm here, I'm usually known as the David Icke of the North. People say I sound like him. I don't think I sound like David Icke at all. If you think I do, then it's just a coincidence, nothing to worry about. But anyway, who am I? As Rob said, my name is Ben Emlyn-Jones, and this was me for most of my life, actually. I was a hospital porter at the John Radcliffe in Oxford, yeah. Big teaching hospital, one of the biggest in the country, 1,000+ beds, general teaching hospital. It's a job I did for a long time, with great pride. I got sacked in what I think is very mysterious and suspicious circumstances. In my last talk here, I went into that in more detail, but basically it seems like more and more people are being attacked in the workplace if they have interests of the kind you discuss at a meeting like this. So that's a long story. Basically, there's lots of other people who suffered a similar fate. Tony Farrell, the police officer, there's Kevin Annett, the vicar from Canada, people like that, and who have lost their jobs. Just, is it a coincidence? I don't think so. Anyway, tonight what I want to talk about is scary and frightening. I'm not going to deny it, so you may find what you hear disturbing, but I don't want you to leave this room tonight feeling hopeless and feeling despondent and just thinking this horror is coming, there's nothing we can do. Hopefully we can stop this horror from coming. There's no certainty about what I've discovered. All I know is there are plans for some bad things to happen in this world, but the plans haven't started yet, and I think if people are talking about them and people are spreading the word, that's the best way of stopping them. And I feel confident we can actually stop them. So we're a bit of a... So I want you to leave with hope tonight. That's my intention. I hope I succeed. We're in a bit of a strange world at the moment, of course. We used to have a World Cup, and Germany are sort of hoisting the cup high at the moment and really enjoying the limelight. But it could have been Uruguay if it wasn't for this. I mean, this has been in the news a lot, hasn't it? Luis Suarez, who plays for Uruguay, also plays for Liverpool. Very hot-headed, yes. He's one of the world's top footballers, and like many top footballers, he's quite a hot-headed chap. He loses his temper very easily, but he has a strange way of expressing his rage. He loves to bite people, and this is actually the third player he's bitten on during matches. When he was playing for Ajax, he bit Otman Bakal of PSV Eindhoven when he was in a match. He bit Chelsea player only last season, and of course in the World Cup a couple of weeks ago, Uruguay were playing Italy, and then he was marking Giorgio Chiellini, that guy, and just for no reason, apparent reason at all, he leaned over and bit him on the shoulder. And of course, the referee missed it. If the referee had seen it, he'd have got an instant red card. As it was of course spotted on television, and he was banned for 4 months as a result of this misdemeanour. And of course it's spawned no end of humorous little jokes. This is one of many of these tableaux that have come up comparing Luis Suarez to a zombie. But it's interesting that the zombie theme keeps coming up again and again in our culture. And I actually predicted that this would happen. You get this comparison, because of course the need to bite other people, to eat other people, that is basically one of the hallmarks of the zombie as we know it today. But first of all, we need to go back to the beginning, really, and explain exactly what a zombie is. Oh yeah, I forgot to show you that. You can now get your very own Louis Spider bottle opener. Yeah, so this is the kind of world we're living in right now. So you know, the idea of zombies, I think, is on everybody's mind, and it doesn't take long before people think of zombie-like ideas to tease people with. But the zombie itself, can you all see that? Okay? Yeah, this is an image of a zombie. The concept of the zombie originates from Africa. It's from various cultures in West Africa, and the actual word zombie comes from the Niger-Congo language word nzumbe. And it was brought to the West via the slave trade through Haiti, where it emerged in Haitian voodoo, which is a religion which comes straight out of Africa. And basically what a zombie is, it's a corpse that has been reanimated by mystical means. And the reanimation would be done by a sorcerer, a black shaman, known as a bokor. What the bokor would do is that the bokor would capture the soul of somebody who died in a bottle. And he'd keep the bottle himself, he'd hide it somewhere in his house, or he'd dig a hole and bury it in the woods or somewhere like that. And as long as he possessed that bottle, he possessed the soul of the person who died. But during that period of time, he also could control the body. The body could be reanimated as an undead, animated entity. And it would have no will or personality in the body. It would have no trace of the person, the personality or soul of the person who occupied the body. And basically it would become like a robot, like a slave, which the bokor could use to do whatever he wanted, and to keep for as long as he wanted. This, of course, was a part of voodoo. Voodoo is one of the oldest religions on earth, certainly in the Western world, and it exists on the island of Hispaniola in Haiti, which I think is the western half of that island. And the voodoo shamanic tradition is very, very old, and it's still going today. Now then, this guy is Wade Davis, and he is an anthropologist and ethnopharmacologist. Now repeat that back to me. Well done, mate, well done. Now, that's right. What he became very, very interested in a story which he heard, which has been documented by someone called Clavius Narcisse. Now, Clavius Narcisse was a man born in Haiti in 1922 and died, well, supposedly died, in 1962. The thing was, Narcisse was buried in the local cemetery along with all the other people who died in his village. And the grave was robbed. People exhumed the body and ran off with it. And a few days later, Narcisse was seen walking around the village. People came up to him, shocked and somewhat pleased to see him. They thought he was dead, but he didn't seem to recognise anyone. He was completely dazed. He seemed to be in a trance. He was just sort of ambling along, completely unaware of his surroundings. A local doctor checked him, and apparently he had no heartbeat and no pulse. So Wade Davis was very fascinated by this, and he actually took a trip to Haiti to examine where all this came from, this whole idea of the zombie in Haiti. And what he discovered was he thought that the zombies weren't actually dead bodies, they were living people who'd been poisoned. They'd been poisoned and people thought they were dead, buried them, and then the person who did the poisoning would dig them up, and this person would be dead. They'd be so intoxicated by this substance they'd been given that they would be basically brain damaged. And that was what Haitian zombie was. The poison used was called tetrodotoxin. It's extremely dangerous, and it can be found in pufferfish and toads. And once you have a lethal dose, there's no antidote that can save you. The voodoo shaman would use a sublethal dose to try and to put the person into a trance. Now, Wade Davis wrote a book called The Serpent and the Rainbow, and in 1988, Wes Craven made it into a horror movie, and here's a still from the movie. This is the DVD of the film. It's Wes Craven, The Serpent and the Rainbow, based on a true story. Now, that's the last thing you want to read on the cover of a horror film, isn't it? But you'll be glad to know if you watch this film, you'll be very glad to know that Craven is actually quite economical with the facts. So it's not quite as bad as it appears in this movie. So a fascinating movie to watch. It does contain a lot of factual information that is found in the book. Now, in the 20th century, the zombies become a large part of the fictional world, both in literature and in the cinemas. Now, the first time it appeared was there was H.P. Lovecraft, the famous horror writer, included zombie-like themes in his stories, as did Richard Matheson, who I think died a couple of years ago. He's a more recent writer. The first ever book to mention the word zombie was the novel The Magic Island by W.B. Seabrook. And the world's first zombie movie was White Zombie in 1932, directed by Victor Halperin and starred Bela Lugosi. But really, the definitive and seminal film, which really caused the concept of the zombie to emerge into our culture, came in 1968. And it was this one, Night of the Living Dead by George A. Romero. It really popularised the image of the zombies we know today, in terms of the eating the flesh, hunting humans and eating flesh and things like that. This was the first of a 6-film series that spanned 42 years. And this is still from some of the other movies. This is from Dawn of the Dead, 1978. This is the first sequel. I think this is the best of the series, actually. It's about a group of people who... It's sort of like a follow-on from the original Night of the Living Dead. It follows another group of survivors who they have to hole up in a shopping centre where the zombies are attacking them from all sides. It's a really, really interesting film. Really, really very, very good. This is another still from Dawn of the Dead. And this poor fella here has been bitten by a zombie, and of course he turns into one. He was originally one of the human cast, but he's been bitten by a zombie, so becomes one of them. This is one of the nasty things about the Romero zombie. This is from Day of the Dead. As you see, that zombie there is eating, and what it's eating there, unfortunately, is a human body. Now, this is still from The Land of the Dead, 2005. After Day of the Dead in 1985, Romero didn't do anything for 25 years, and he came back in style. Land of the Dead is an excellent film, and that's one of the stills from there. The zombies become gradually more intelligent through the series, which is unusual when you think about it, but they do sort of develop more kind of awareness as time goes on. Now, what Romero popularised was, along with his particular brand of zombie, which became how we see zombies, was the idea of the zombie apocalypse, and this was a form of dystopian fiction. Like you've had things like Mad Max, and post-nuclear war apocalyptic scenes and things like that. This is the zombie apocalypse was different. The zombie apocalypse was where there was a breakdown in society as a result of a zombie outbreak. And what would happen is the zombies would spread. It's usually a global thing. They spread across the world, gradually increasing in number, and civilization would break down. The military, law enforcement would be swamped, society would collapse, the infrastructure, that's a word you'll hear a lot of nowadays, infrastructure. The infrastructure would break down, and there'd be nothing left except a few pockets of survivors who basically had to scavenge for supplies and food, and of course defend themselves from the zombies all the time, which outnumbered them many times. Manyfold. So, in 2004, Dawn of the Dead was remade. In my view, it wasn't nearly as good as the original. Although it did have a zombie baby, and that really freaked me out. If you ever watched that movie, I'll tell you. Also, the zombies in the remake of Dawn were totally different because they were much more agile. They could run around, they could jump, and they could run really fast. And that somehow made them less scary, I think. Not as good as the original film, the original Romero-esque zombie. The Romero-esque zombie is the classic zombie. It's basically the corpse that has been reanimated, very often through means which are not explained to the viewer. In Romero, you're never told why that is. Basically, it's it's rather like the one from African mythology. It's just a mindless, undead being which has no personality. It can't walk, it just walks very slowly, it sort of stumbles and staggers along, it appears dazed, semi-conscious. It never speaks, it just moans and grunts. But it's extremely dangerous because it's always hungry. The only thing it wants to eat is the flesh of living humans, and its only objective is to hunt down and eat humans. And as I said, in Romero, there's sometimes little hints about what might be causing it, but you're never actually told why these zombies are appearing. There's just one little clue in Dawn of the Dead, and one of the characters says that when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. And that actually became the subtitle of the film when it was released onto video and DVD. Now, sci-fi horror. Zombies have emerged in sci-fi horror as well. Mostly in the post-2000 era, you get a number of science fiction horror films which feature zombies. In this case, the viewer is told the cause, usually, and that cause is scientifically explicable. They're not supernatural. These zombies are created by a disease, a virus, or another kind of infectious agent which spreads as a kind of plague, turning people into zombies. Now, this is an example of one of the best ones, actually, I Am Legend. There's Will Smith there, starring, and one of the zombies that is in this post-zombie apocalypse world that he lives in. Here's one from this side of the Atlantic, 28 days later. Again, this is a very interesting one as well, because it features this virus, this virus that spreads very quickly. And it's quite scary because in this case it spreads through the air. And Resident Evil. Now, this is actually a series of films. There's 6 of these movies now, and there's another one coming out very soon. This is the most interesting one of all. I'm going to come back to Resident Evil later on. This is, in this case, again, it's a sci-fi horror. The zombies are very Romero-esque in the classic sense, but the actual themes of it are very, very interesting. And amazingly, it's based on a computer game. And you don't get any of these films that are based on computer games. But it's pretty good. I've got no prejudice against things based on computer games. And zombies have been on TV as well. They become a theme on television. And this here is Darren Brown. Is Dex here? No. All right. Dex had personal experience with the powers of this man. Darren Brown, of course, he's a hypnotist and mentalist. He can mess with people's minds. He does it for entertainment purposes only, which is just as well, because there's many other people who have his skills which use it for much more malevolent purposes. But Darren Brown actually has created several TV shows, and one of them was a reality TV horror called Apocalypse. I think it only came out last year. I don't know if you've seen it. You've seen Apocalypse, you have, John. For those who haven't seen it, it's one of his most controversial productions ever. It's a strange blend of one of a Romero film, The Truman Show, and Jeremy Kyle. You've got a picture in your head, it's something like that. But what he did was, because he's a bit arrogant, this chap, in fact, he's very arrogant, he decided to educate somebody he thought was living a thoughtless existence without caring for the people around him. Very unambitious, dispassionate, slothful and immature. An overgrown teenager who didn't clean up his room, and he made his mother do all his washing and cooking for him. He had trouble keeping a job and spent all his free time down the pub. This was a man called Stephen Brosnan. What Brown did was he targeted this guy, he hypnotised him, and made him think he was living in a zombie apocalypse. So he's a bit of a slob, obviously that's a fault of his, but does that mean he deserves to believe his world is destroyed and his family dead? I mean, this is, Darren Brown says he said, he hoped that by losing everything he took for granted, Brosnan would discover a new lease of life. He'd develop courage, compassion and decisiveness. He would be a man changed for the better. Now, many critics saying that's saying that Darren Brown has gone too far, and I agree. I find all reality TV very ugly and unpleasant. This one is the worst. I mean, Darren Brown, he's made people think they're living in a haunted house. He's given them out a pill to cure him of his fear of spiders, things like that. This is just goes beyond the joke, I think. There's also a rumour that the whole thing was staged, and I hope it was, and that Stephen Brosnan was a stooge, the man that Brown targeted. And I spoke to a guy I know about this, because he was a solicitor, and he said...